Dead Scared Entertainment takes pleasure in presenting Verda Darano, a journey into the phantasmagoric lands of folklore, literature, theater, and film. In the centuries-old tradition of the Romani people, we bring to you stories of superstition, fantasy, and adventure. There's no turning back. The Verda approaches.
Latchi Ratyi Miro Amal. Good evening, friend. I'm Makalai. What's more scary? The products of our imagination or the realities of our world? Take a moment to ponder this thought, but not too long. We can't keep tonight's tale from your and possibly other eager ears. We visit someone who has seen, heard, and felt things within the physical and metaphysical realm. Someone who has experienced the many shapes of terror. Delightful, no? For our friend, Tressa, we cannot say. That's for you to decide, faithful companion. We can say she is a comrade of creepy and does not shy from a little bloodshed. By blood, we mean a healthy mix of syrups and edible dyes. But there's no pretending from this point forward. You will be terrified. So close your eyes, listen closely, and let the soothing chill of petrifying fear reach the marrow of your bones.
Latchi Ratyi Dead Scared Entertainment, good evening. This is yet another episode of Verda Darano, and today we have with us an extremely special guest. We have with us Tressa Danielle. Now, Tressa is one of our very close cousins. We love her very dearly, and on top of this, she's also an amazing barber. And should you need a fresh cut one of these days in Chicago, reach out to Tress_the_barber. That's TRESS_the_barber. Believe me, you'll love what she does. And today we're going to be talking to her about her life experiences and just how spooky she can be. And we can't wait to get this started. So Tressa, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I couldn't imagine doing this podcast without you.
I said the same thing.
I was super excited when you both called. So
exactly.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So why don't we start at the beginning of everything? So where did you grow up? What was your experience like growing up Roma? And tell us about the positives and negatives and things like that.
Yeah, growing up, we grew up around the Lincoln Square area. It was, we kind of grew up middle class, stuff like that. Being Rom, it was, you're in third grade. Your mom's getting you ready for school and she's zipping up your jacket and she says, hey, by the way, don't say you're Rom. You don't do those things. Mm-hmm. And as a little kid, you're like, well, what's wrong with me? What's wrong? Why can't I say these things? And you grow up and it's kind of traumatizing, in a way, because you have to hide your identity because you feel like something's wrong with you now. So all these little kids and they're all playing together and it leaves you with this, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a low self-esteem, kind of. You're already off the bat before you walk out that door. You don't feel like you belong, right? So We had to hide our identity, our heritage, our culture. And that was taught to us. And then it's so ingrained in us that we teach it to our children. And their children teaches it to their children. So generations and generations, we have to hide who we are because the outside looks at us so negatively. And we just want to fit in, you know. We want to be able to go to school normally and not worry about, you know, if the teachers know that we're, you know, gypsy, that, you know, they're going to be mean to us. You know, the kids too pick on us.
It's true.
It's sad.
It's true. And do you feel like that was how it was growing up? Even with neighborhood kids, did you have friends in the neighborhood or?
Yeah, I had friends, but nobody knew. Nobody knew. I had to say I was like either Italian or just Hungarian. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't. I felt like I didn't come out.
Yeah,
right.
I
That's
was like
all of
13.
us.
That's how we all say this.
Until I was like, well, you know what? Hey, I'm gypsy. If you like it, if you don't, that's too bad.
And I'm surprised you did that a lot earlier than most of us did. Yeah. Everybody that we've talked to either did it later on in high school or in some cases already in their 20s.
See,
so you were lucky in that case.
I mean, you know what? But in certain things, I still don't do it. Like,
of course.
Before I married my husband, I said, listen, I got to tell you something. I'm gypsy. He was like, oh, I already know. And I was like, oh, you do? Okay, you're good with that? So it's like getting over that first. It's like, if they get over the hump that I'm gypsy, all right, we're all cool.
Right.
Like,
perfect.
But why does it have to be such a big hump? That shouldn't even have to be there.
It shouldn't be at all.
It should not be at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's true.
We all have to face that.
We've all experienced that. You know, that's really...
It's just a disconnect between the outside world and them not being educated on who we are and just having this idea of gypsies not being real people. That's just it. Mm-hmm. Or bad people in general. Mm-hmm. So
what was the context that you kind of like came out to your now husband? What was the context like? Were you guys like at dinner or something?
No,
or
we were just hanging out in his basement and stuff, and we were just sitting. I forgot what we were watching on TV, and we were talking. The conversation of our relationship got a little serious because I was looking to move out to LA. And, you know, do special effects makeup. And I wanted to do it for the, you know, films and go out to Hollywood. I just bought a ticket to LA. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, like I thought we were together and stuff like that. And I just had to break it to him, you know, before I was like, do you want to take this serious step with me, even though you know, I'm gypsy. I have to let you know this. And then I need to get your approval. Does your mother know? Yada, yada, yada.
Right.
What does your family think? Mm-hmm. It's a terrible... It's got to trickle down the line, you know.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. That's how I was in multiple relationships. Mm-hmm. I was so scared to mention it, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's one thing when you're going to college and at least they're removed, the majority of them were from out of like state. So they're removed from their family's opinion. So they don't care essentially. Yeah. But it's funny when they don't even say, well, what is that? Mm-hmm. You know, and you're over here, you're like shaking in your boots. Like, I don't know how they're going to respond to this. And they're like, what? What is that?
Yeah.
Right.
Crazy. Nah.
Automatically, their perception of you drops.
Yeah.
Automatically. You say you're a gypsy, boom. Mm-hmm. It's dropped. You're the footstool or whatever the case may be, the doormat for their feet, like that. I mean, that's just my opinion in when it comes to people, in their their thoughts about us.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
That's true. So would you say, because now we have an interesting dynamic here. Now that you're with your husband and we love you, him, your whole family in general. I gotta say, your
family's our family.
Exactly.
So what are we at?
So yeah. So like with that being said, do you feel like having that dynamic of the fact that you're Roman, he's Gajo, do you feel like you found a way to make it kind of work together?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you want to know what, and I was just thinking of that too, because a lot of people say, well, you know what? The gypsies really stick with the gypsies, but a lot of people don't want the gypsies in their culture.
Right.
So what do? We have no choice but to keep it in our culture. Who do we marry? We marry those of gypsies because nobody else, you know,
wants to bother.
Nobody wants to bother.
But
or they're too afraid to get over the hump or whatever the case may be.
Right. I will say this though, out of
every family member that we've encountered that has gone out with a gajo or has married one, Justin has been the most
He's the
warm
bomb.
and welcoming out of all of them. He is just absolutely wonderful. We appreciate him so much. We really do.
Really?
He's just awesome.
I'm
He's just
lucky.
great.
You
Yes,
really
you really
are.
are. God bless you.
God bless you.
Really?
I'm-
Where did you find this boy?
Honestly, he was working with James.
Yeah.
And James said that he's Italian.
Yeah.
So he hid his culture
Right.
from Justin.
There you go.
And I walked in to give James the car keys, and from there he was like, hi. And
Yeah.
he asked James to set me up, if he could set us up and stuff. And we went on from there. So
That's it. The rest is
Was
history.
that that little Italian food place?
yeah, Rex's. Yeah,
Mhm.
Rex is Italian.
Oh, with Massimo. That's why he was on the wedding.
Yes, yeah.
There you go.
They're
Makes
very
sense.
good people.
I love him.
Their scachadas are amazing. I
Oh
have
my
to
gosh.
shout out their
Well,
scachadas.
If Massimo ends up hearing this one day, hello, how you doing? I miss you. It's been years since I've talked to you, but yeah. But that's, you see what I mean? How it all,
Yeah.
but notice how funny that is. How just that all those cultures, how our cultures just somehow mesh into all of that too.
Absolutely.
Think about that. It's crazy. And yet
Absolutely.
we're given such a terrible stigma, but yet
Right.
we're basically like the rest of everybody. Maybe a little bit more superstitious than the rest, but even then. So
Italians are really
I know, that's what I'm
superstitious.
saying.
And the Greek,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
superstition, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I feel like, we had to learn to adapt because it's like a flight or fight
Yes.
kind of thing.
Bingo.
And, instead of, flighting, we stood and we fought and we learned to adapt everybody's culture because we had to be afraid of our own. So we
Yes.
had to become
Yes.
other people. If we weren't put in a position to not do so, I think we would have stood strong. But in order to survive, we had to become somebody we weren't.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think right now we're at a different time and place where we're coming out. We're like, hey, this is who we are.
Yeah.
Either you're going to accept us or we're not. And we're good people. We're just like everybody else.
Exactly.
Probably, this is my, how do you say it? No. The drum word, I can't even think. When you're,
Your buddy Ben or no?
yeah,
Okay.
probably a little more talented than
Den most Gaja.
Right.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, this is-
musically.
Oh,
Right.
without a doubt.
Musically
Yep.
talented.
Without
Especially
a doubt.
for
Absolutely.
our Vita too.
Mm-hmm.
So-
I will say, well, that's because this is what I realized. In Europe, our Roma, our particular Vita, our tribe or community, whatever you want to call it, our type,
Yeah.
what we're called is the Bashalde Romongre.
Okay.
Okay? So, because that's musician Roma that
Mhm.
live within the realms of Hungary, Slovakia, and some parts of even Romania.
Yeah.
But sort of like that tri-state area of Eastern Europe
Yeah.
is where our Roma come from,
Mhm.
essentially. Because obviously before that, way before present day, like how they separated the countries and things, that was all Austria-Hungary at one
Right.
point. So that's why we all consider ourselves Hungarian, because
Right.
by nationality, that's what we were.
Right.
So,
And little fun fact that I've heard. Now I can't say this is true or whatever the case may be, but my Baba Bungi, her great grandmother, used to bake for the king of that country.
really?
I can't say if that's true or not, but I heard that.
Well, I know for a fact that our family down the line, because we were such fine musicians, where we would be a part of parties and events for a lot of these, well-to-do politicians and officials in the
Absolutely.
countries. Because
Yeah.
one of the things is if you had a good Romana band, the better Romana band you had, the more higher stature you held within society.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
with that being said, I mean, it only makes sense. But, I mean, it's continued on. It's continued on. Look, you play piano, you sing. I know you sing too.
A little bit.
Little bit, you know.
I think I could hold the tune.
You can hold it to a little bit here and there. And, like, now your brother's got a wonderful voice as well,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Does Kyle play anything?
You know what? I'm not sure if he does.
The banjo.
Yeah.
I heard him play one
I
time.
think
He's
He's
wonderful.
got the spoons in the corner.
Yeah.
Spoons. I think he plays a triangle. What is it called? The
Tambourine.
Yeah.
The tambourine.
There you go. Hey. you got-
Dinner's ready.
Yeah.
He does play the drums. I know he can hold a beat or two.
Really?
So, yeah. We had a drum set before in
Yeah.
our basement. Jeremiah's actually.
There you go.
So they would all the little kids would go down there and
Yeah.
play, and so
Oh, of course. That's
Yeah.
every gypsy boy. We all would
Yeah.
do that from young.
yeah.
Gee. Sick. Did you grow up being like a monster kid? Like enjoying like spooky movies and horror shows and
I
stuff?
did.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Tell me about it.
You know, I used to sit with my Bubba. Tales from the Crypt.
Yes.
Was one of them.
Yes.
All day. Tales from the Crypt. One of what was it? Stephen King's Thinner.
Mmm.
Scary. Very scary. That traumatized me. That movie. Thinner.
Really?
Yes. And that made me afraid of my culture. Too, because you know the gypsy curse, you know, she cursed him, put the thing in the pie. So I was always afraid. I was afraid to be, you know, going back to that. But
Yeah. But it's funny you mentioned that because that's one of those films, like maybe, okay, I've seen Thinner, but one of the films that a lot of people brought up to me when they found out I was Roma was like, oh, have you seen Drag Me to Hell?
see,
Yeah.
that was a scary movie, and it was. But what was that? Early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s.
Yeah.
You know, so that was my generation growing up and
Right.
seeing, you know,
Right.
like things like that.
But going back to, you know, the special effects makeup, I used to watch Michael Jackson's behind the scene Thriller,
Yep.
and it would be on, and I was always like just so fascinated how they did that. And I looked at my Bubba and I was like, I'm gonna do that when I get older. And sure enough, like I mean, not famously enough, but
Yeah,
you know, we're always making, you know,
of course.
scary movies and things
Of
like
course.
that, and just running around with the camera. So,
Of course.
but yeah.
It's true.
Mhm.
My gosh. I swear. As soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, so she's a fan of Rick Baker. She's got to be a fan of Rick Baker.
I like Tom Savini.
Tom Savini is awesome
Tom
too.
Savini, and you know what? I was I can't think of his name, but
What did he do?
when I got into special effects, I wanted to see how they did the special effects makeup for Nosferatu.
Ah.
And because I wanted to recreate something in that order, but they didn't have the stuff that they had now. And
Of course not.
there is really no documentation on it. And I searched and I searched. I still can't find it. So if anybody could find the documentation on how they did that,
Yeah.
just, you know, I would love to.
I've got friends. I could find that out for you.
Yeah, absolutely, because the work on that was amazing,
Mm-hmm.
especially for that time.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, and you know, Lon Chaney,
Mhm.
Werewolf, that had to have taken over, I think, 20 some hours. I think it was a period of 20 to 24 hours. I'm not sure, but just the makeup on that and everything that they had to do, and the way they set up the cameras and like just that stop pause, because they didn't have that back then. It's now that CGI. If you talk to any, or mostly, I can't speak for all, but special effects makeup artists, CGI, that's our number one.
Yeah, it's the bane of
Enemy.
our existence.
Yeah, like, you know, because as a special effects makeup artist, you want to go in, not computer generated, you want to go in with the real
The
thing.
practical effects.
Absolutely. So,
Yes.
but yeah.
Completely. I'm so glad you're mentioning the fact that you mentioned Nosferatu and you also mentioned Lon Chaney, because obviously when you're talking about Jack Pierce's makeup work,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm. Yeah.
when you're talking about that, his work with Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and every one of those. The funny thing, a lot of people don't know this, but he actually made the hairpiece for Dracula. And Bela, I mean, he did like little touch-up works here and there because they wanted to keep him subtle. They wanted to keep it very subtle, the makeup that he did.
Mhm.
So he did work on Dracula to an extent too. But you're mentioning all my heroes growing up too.
Jack Pierce, that they did a movie before, and when he did that, what he did for Lon Chaney, that was, they didn't want that or something. They wanted
You're
to
talking
do it.
about London After Midnight.
I'm pretty sure it was, but what happened was he took whatever he he took whatever he had for that movie and interpreted it for the Wolfman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of which. Are you talking about Werewolf in London?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Okay, because I know Lon Chaney. Okay, so I mentioned London After Midnight. That was the in between essentially, because 1922 is Nosferatu.
Yeah.
And that was F.W. Murnau, and that was out in Germany. But then in America, Lon Chaney did The Phantom of the Opera. He did Hunchback of Notre Dame. And mind you, he did all the makeup himself. Imagine that, the hours. Because I just actually recently watched The Phantom of the Opera.
I can't say I've ever seen the.
You
Okay, I'll have to
see
watch it.
If you see the makeup work that he did for
Yeah.
Phantom of the Opera, and just the camera work alone that
Yeah.
they did for this film,
Mhm.
Tressa, I mean this. You're gonna sit back and you're gonna go, "Wow, this is what they were doing in 1925."
It's astounding.
Right?
It just they didn't have the stuff that they had now.
It's so
They
true.
didn't have that. They didn't have liquid latex.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
Just imagine if
Yeah.
they had the tools that we have today and the methods, what they would have accomplished.
Absolutely.
How
I wonder if it would have
fantastic.
came out the same.
I wonder too. I really wonder too.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's
They were
just
truly masters of their craft.
Absolutely.
pioneers.
Absolutely. They set the
Completely.
stage.
Oh,
Yeah.
without a
They
doubt.
set the stage,
Mhm.
you know, for other makeup artists.
It's true.
Mhm.
And I don't want to. I look how I'm blanking on the guy's name who did
I do that
the
too.
Exorcist.
can't-
Dick something. Gosh.
I know.
I feel so bad.
He did The Godfather too, right?
Yeah.
I can't think. And you know what? My special effects makeup artist people would be like, man, Tressa, you're letting us down.
Yeah, right? This is what I'm
Jeez.
saying. I feel bad too. I'm trying to look that up right now, actually, just so then I could properly refer to this guy. Because mind you, there's so many people. Another guy who was big on makeup as well. A lot of people don't give him enough credit, but he also did the makeup for the Wolfman in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, Bud Westmore. So he was the guy who followed after Jack Pierce. Dick Smith. That's his name, Dick Smith. I just wanted to make sure I was saying his name right because I felt bad. But there's so many great guys. And so growing up,
Mm-hmm.
you found yourself in love with the idea of creating monsters and creating special effects like cuts and scrapes and bruises and all these other things.
Mhm.
So did you, put it this way, did you find yourself, like, was there a particular effect that you really enjoyed creating? What was like your thing?
You know what I liked? It was more of the blood splatter. Like that's what I wanted to always. I wanted to go above and beyond, do the hardest thing, and
Yeah.
working with Donovan Cody. And, he'd be like, oh, come on, what are we doing? This is taking up all the time, and supportively,
course.
because we were on low budgets, but I always had to set the scene. Because you can't film without setting the scene, but I wanted to do the utmost. Let's make her head roll down the stairs, down the street 20 feet, and just life casting and all of that.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds to me that you've actually done special effects for films. So what films have you done special effects for?
You know what? We filmed, I've always teamed up with Donovan Cody, and we've done so many little B films, YouTube films. I have one now that I've made on my own with my brothers and Jovan and everybody. It's on YouTube, but I think they cut it off because it was in some parts they couldn't do it or whatever.
Yeah.
It was Jack the Brain Smasher, the prequel. So Jack the Brain Smasher has been in our family for years. It was a character made up by my uncle Dennis Horvath. And then my father and Donald and all of them just kind of took that character, they made the movie. It's on YouTube as well. But it's always been in our family. And every time we film, that's what our character is based off of. And it's just a man in a black top hat, black coat, just terrorizing the people, which brings us to the Roma culture of if you are familiar with the guy with the black coat and the big black hat that you don't speak of.
is actually my nightmare.
Yeah.
I did not know this until maybe the beginning of this year, right? About this thing. From little, like before kindergarten, I would have this nightmare, and I'd be so afraid of this guy who would come to visit me in the night with the overcoat, and the kalapa, with feathers in it. I'd see color. So it would be black, and then the feathers would be colored, right? And I remember going to a funeral, like, one time, and he was there.
That's scary.
Like, he was literally there. And I
She's been saying this from young, mind you.
Yeah. And I asked, I can't remember who I was by. Somebody random, I didn't even know them. Obviously, another gypsy, whatever. I said, who was that?
Yeah, who was he?
They said, oh, that's, what's his name? You know, whatever.
Yeah, they didn't know.
And I was like, there's no way, because I gotta go right now.
Yeah.
This man has been around for the longest time.
Yeah.
And it's been in my dream, in real life, in it's unbelievable how much I've seen this thing.
See, now I've heard other Roma talk about him, but they all say the same thing. You don't mention him. You don't talk about him. I don't know what the name is. I don't think anybody knows the name.
The true name?
I don't want to know it.
I don't know. I don't know it. That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say. Do you know the name?
No.
So you don't even know this.
Nobody knows the name.
Nobody knows the name.
But they all seen the figure.
And he is not welcome here in God's name.
And he's not welcome anywhere but
anywhere in God's name.
A lot of Rama speak about this shape that's in a black hat, long black trench coat, no face.
Yeah.
Nobody could describe the face. I've heard stories of Rama, and I won't say any names, but they there was one story, and if they're listening to this story, okay, they're gonna say you told it. So one day she was in her house alone.
All right.
Okay, yeah, she just put the kids to sleep, and she went in the basement to do the laundry. So when she went in the basement to do the laundry, it was there. Okay, so she ran back up into her house, and by the time she went to shut the door, it was there behind her. Okay,
Yoy.
I don't know what it was, but somehow, some way, it started fighting with her. And then she threw it out of the house. She, in Jesus' name or whatever she said, and it left.
I gotta go to sleep. Yay.
But you don't mention it. And then there was another story about this shape. I'm gonna call it the shape, okay?
Sure.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Michael Myers was originally called the shape. I know, but we don't know. Okay, but it's not Michael Myers, that shape. This is the Rama shape.
This is the Rama shape.
We'll just call him the shape, or the black shape, or whatever. But,
Sure.
The woman was. This was a different woman now. Okay?
All right.
Same person, same shape, different woman. Okay. She was in her house. She was doing, I forgot whatever she said she was doing, but she looked out the back window, and she was up on the second floor. Yeah. And she looked out the backyard, and sure enough, it was in the alleyway. Okay. And it was so it was so tall and so big that it didn't look like a normal, average, guy.
Yeah.
And she are you knowing what I'm saying?
Hold on. Okay. Here's a question. Has anybody mentioned to you about this particular figure, the shape, without a hat?
No.
Okay, so then I've seen something completely different. Okay. Because what I've seen has no hat, but it's a very similar shape. And the funny thing is, this shape that I've seen, not only have I seen it, I'd be on FaceTime with people, clients, and they'd say, hey, is somebody walking around, who's in the doorway watching?
Oh, yeah.
And I turn around and I'm like, Nobody's there like, holy shit, it's gone. Now, my friends, I never mentioned any of this type of stuff to them or my clients because naturally I'm keeping it professional. So I wouldn't want to say anything, but sure enough, that's why I'm asking, because if that's the case, then we all have, I'll say this, then this is something that's privy to you two and whoever you, I have thankfully not experienced anything with this particular
I thank
shape.
God I've never seen it.
Okay,
Don't
then
want
good.
to.
Good, perfect.
I've heard stories
Yeah.
from other, like, but people who wouldn't even, like, not that they don't know each other.
Yeah.
Because you say, oh, who's your mother and father? Oh, I know who you are.
Yeah, of course.
But
Any
like,
association.
Any
together.
association, yeah, to these people.
This is too unbelievable
Yeah.
because this has been my nightmare from
Yeah.
birth.
Mhm.
Like ever since I could remember, that's like my first memory of anything is that.
Yeah. See,
wow. That's
scary.
crazy.
That is Darwin, yeah.
That's crazy.
Mhm.
I mean,
Now I know one more other story, and it involved a man and a woman with the shape, okay? The Roma shape.
okay, sure.
She was at home.
Yeah.
It was dark out, and she was waiting for her husband to get home.
Yeah.
Okay. So whatever, they were doing something, and I'm sorry I don't have too much details to bring in
That's fine. Yeah.
that story, but the man went outside. She was standing in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And he opened up the back door to put his shoes out, right? And he saw it standing there in the corner of, like, the stairs going down the stairs, and it was right there in the corner.
Yeah. On the
And
landing.
he shuts the door. Not a word. I'm getting chills. Not a word. He shuts the door as if nothing happens, and he tells his wife, "Come on, let's go to bed." And he locks the door. Didn't say anything, didn't do anything, but it was just there. Shut the door on it.
Yoy.
Darwin. I don't ever want to see that. But if I wonder, and Roma, if they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, leave
Comment
this.
down below.
Comment
Comment down below.
If you know about
Yes.
the Goro with the black hat and the long trench coat, comment. I want to
Yes.
hear. I want to see.
We all want to know about
Yes.
this. This is what it is. And the
Yes.
fact that we've had this.
But he has a feathered hat, I'm telling you.
It could be. I didn't see him.
Because if you see him in a certain light,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you can't see his face, right?
Yeah.
But he has the feathers, I'm telling you.
I'm sure.
And when I seen him on this funeral,
I ain't gonna question.
it was unbelievable. It was gray sideburn, right?
Mm.
Like cut. But it was black going into the gray, like sort of a fade
Mhm.
sort of thing. Very clean cut. Whatever. Cleanly shaven. You know how old men sort of have like those old spots on their
Yeah,
face?
yeah.
Kind of like that. All complected. A bit big of an ear. Like your sort of ear. It wasn't popped out, but it was a pretty big ear on this man, right? But you couldn't see his eyes. And you couldn't see his mouth.
Scary.
But you saw the feathers. Literally there. And he was quick. You know?
Yo.
It was quick. It was like he came out of the crowd, but he didn't come out of the crowd. He like appeared from the crowd. Like, you know when like people are passing through, it was like boop, go.
Well, I'll tell you this. Whatever you saw, it stood with you from a little kid.
Yeah.
And you grew up with this, this notion of who is this person?
Right.
And it didn't sit well with you. Whoever that was did
Right.
not sit well with you, with your spirit, with your self-being, and you knew that something was wrong.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So right off the bat, it was a bad person.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just saying.
It's true.
Yeah.
You can sense these.
But
things.
nobody believed me. Say the truth. Everybody thought I was nuts. I was
Yeah.
crying on my mother.
Nobody else
Let
saw
me in,
him?
Ma, please, because there's a Goro Ajay.
Yoy.
They wouldn't let me in the room. I was sleeping with my mother till maybe I was about 10 or
No.
scratch that. I was about 12, 13.
Yeah.
I was still running on the
No,
bed
you were
by
about
my
15
mother.
still.
Maybe. I'm not changed.
You peed your pants so you were dead.
Right? No, really. I am not even ashamed of that because this is how this thing was. And it was consistent. It wasn't something different ever. It was the same
So you
thing.
saw this figure
all of my life.
Your life.
All of my life.
Wow.
Yeah. And then this is right around when we started coming out with DSE, right?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who was telling me about this figure, man thing. And it clicked in my head as they're telling me this. It was like an energy like growing in me, like if I was in Chundel. Like it was very like negative, right? And I'm thinking they're talking about exactly who I've seen all of my life. No doubt. My mother and father and everybody say, well, you're crazy. There's no ghosts. There's no nothing. We believe in God.
Yeah.
You can believe in God and still witness things like that. And that's when that made the switch in my head where it like validated it all. The whole spiritual, scary, spooky, horror realm of everything, right? Because I just thought I was crazy.
No, that's in the Bible. There's spirits in the Bible.
Exactly.
There's good and evil spirits.
Exactly,
Yes, absolutely.
You'd think, like...
The Holy Spirit.
Exactly.
That's their spirit.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
I just maybe didn't want to, like... I didn't want to believe in that. It's not that I believe in it. I just didn't want to think that that was true.
Absolutely.
And it is.
What's shaking, OVD fans? This is Pierce Horvat, co-founder of Dead Scared Entertainment. Raquel and I are so glad to have you listening to each and every episode of Verda Darano, and would greatly appreciate it if you'd give us a 5-star rating and leave a positive review on whatever platform you tune in from. This will help us reach more fantastic fans just like you and make the shadows just that much more friendly. We put a lot of effort into this, and all our content, including drawing videos, true paranormal experiences, and even more, is all accessible at deadscaredentertainment.com. And if you'd like to reach us through the ether and contact us regarding content ideas, general questions, or just to say hello from the other side, slither or swoop your way over to the Contact Us page on deadscaredentertainment.com. Thank you for listening. And now, back to your favorite bone-chilling broadcast, O Verda Darano. Was there a movie that stuck with you? Because obviously you're a fan of horror movies.
Yeah.
Obviously. Do you have a favorite horror movie? Or like, do you have like a list of like top 5 or something? Like, what do you got?
John Carpenter's Halloween. Absolutely phenomenal. You can't,
You can.
Yeah, you can't mess with that shape now. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
The Exorcist.
Everybody's mentioned that. So
Everybody
far.
says The Exorcist.
Because you want to know what.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When you mess with certain things and you bring that on you,
Yeah.
it's not like this thing just came at her. She was fooling with a Ouija board.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You mess with the dark, there's a consequence.
Naturally.
Let me just think, because there's so many. Monster Squad.
Yes.
Filmed so you can't
Yes.
film that today though. You
can't.
can't because it's just the things that were said in there.
Oh, without a doubt.
You can't. You can't. What else? Let me just think. It's like the movies that can really happen. That's the scariest to me.
Same.
There could be a guy, shapeshifter, whatever you want to call it, a Delino, whatever, coming at you, stalking you, like Freddy Krueger and stuff. It's scary when you watch it and things like that, but I mean, it's not that realistic.
Yes.
So things that are realistic scare me more. I can't think of the movies, and I wish I had a longer list, but
That's fine. No worries.
the only ones that come to mind that really truly scare me are Michael Myers, the old one,
Yes.
John Carpenter's, and because it was just filmed so, the acting in there was so real, like it, and The Exorcist. That's what I got it. I think that. How about you?
So for me, with me, my gosh, the movies. Well, naturally, the one movie that I'll forever hold at the highest regard is Dracula from 1931,
Okay.
without a doubt. See, when I speak of like my favorite horror films, it always goes back to like from the 30s to like the 50s. Those are
Okay.
all my favorites. But I will say, when you're talking 70s, 80s, I love. I guess everybody loves Michael Myers
Absolutely.
because he was the one that really he really brought that new era of horror into fashion.
Yeah.
That or the Evil Dead. A lot of people say it's either the Evil Dead or Halloween.
Mhm.
One of the two that did that. It's one of those things. I will say though, a lot of my taste in horror, actually, it's strange because there's days where I'll really enjoy it, then there's days where I don't even want to look at it because it could just be so what they call it like kitschy. Essentially,
Okay.
is between like the late 50s into the early mid 70s when they were doing grindhouse films.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You know, I every now and then if I just want something that's complete like B film, just something to
Yeah.
watch like while I'm working.
Mhm.
There was a point in time where I was watching. This was when I was in college and I was doing a research paper on him. His name is Jean Rollins.
Okay.
He did a bunch of. He's a French filmmaker who did a bunch of like occult torture vampire films.
Okay.
Super
Okay.
corny, and it's just like it's what you would expect. Lots of blood, lots of crazy like
Right.
faux rituals and masks, and it's just something that it's more visual. It's more for the visuals. It's very pretty.
Yeah.
His films are very pretty.
Yeah.
Or like a movie that I really enjoy that kind of lives within that same realm is, have you ever seen Love Witch?
I don't think I have.
You should watch it.
I'll watch it.
Love Witch. I forgot what year it came out. It's 2000 some it came out.
Okay.
So I could probably send you that. But for me, I live within more or less. I like the eerie stuff.
Okay.
And for me, it's true when it comes to things that deal with the supernatural, like The Exorcist or The Conjuring or something like that. Those are the films that at least affected me the most at a time. Now it's a little different because again, even with those films, I know it can happen.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like I know that these are instances that are fabricated. It's all movie magic,
Absolutely.
you know? And I love it.
Absolutely. And that's when I, watching, a movie, it's more along the lines of, and wanting to, be in the movies.
Right.
How did they do that?
That's
So
my question
you're
all day.
you're missing the plot. And I
Yep.
can't think of his name. And I was just watching it. It was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, kind of behind the scenes,
Sure.
sort of. And he said, they hung the girl on the hook,
Mhm.
and he was like, no blood. Why? Because people are going to wonder, how did they do that? So there was no blood in that scene
Mhm.
of when she got hung on the hook because of the mindset that he had. They're not going to worry about the movie and what's happening. They're going to worry, how did this happen? How did they do that? And it's going to take away from the movie.
Right.
And that was just brilliant when he said that to me. So it changed my perspective on how to be a special effects makeup artist. And I was just, like you said, backtracking what you said, how is this, how can I interpret this? How can I do this?
Yes.
You
It's so true. It's funny you bring that up because it's always a line. Even in my plots, when I write things, I sit back and I'm like, okay, should I be over here doing the most, or what am I doing? Does me doing the most service the plot?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something a special effects makeup artist has to consider as well. Is, do my effects service the story,
Mm-hmm.
or is it just outlandishly garish?
Absolutely.
To the point where essentially it takes you out of the plot. Some people enjoy that.
Yeah.
And it has its place. But then sometimes you have to service the plot. And that is a very big point you brought up. So glad you brought that up.
Mhm.
I will say this, you just need to play the balance, I guess, at that point. But I mean, all in all, it's just, the funny thing is, and I realize this too as we sit here, and I love the fact that you're a fan of horror. So this makes these questions that much more fun because I can tell you're passionate about this.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
I have just, my dad to thank for that, because he was the reason for it all.
Really?
Growing up watching him film, his production, Rough Cuts Productions,
Yeah.
making Jack the Brain Smasher. I would go and watch him film, and when he would take me, and stuff.
Yeah.
And just everything was Halloween with him. So just kind of grew up in it.
Spooky.
So
Yeah,
The spooky movies.
The spooky movies. Tacos. Eat the tacos.
And the pizza, the
Spaghetti.
popcorn.
Yeah, the popcorn and spaghetti. My father with the popcorn, he'd come. He'd put the blankets on the floor for us.
Yes.
Put on the movie, the popcorn. Come with the popcorn,
that's the whole the
Yeah.
whole mood. So would you say like in some ways you practically live every day like Halloween?
I want to say yes and no.
Gotcha.
Especially now.
Fair,
I kind of... I used to. Especially like if we're filming, because sometimes it'll take us 6 months,
Yeah.
7 months, whatever. And then... so we have to live in that.
Of course.
And that horror feeling. But if I'm not filming and stuff, September through October 31st, then, sometimes I get myself a break because I want to feel Christmas and all of that. And so,
yeah.
But yeah, when I'm doing makeup and stuff like that, it's horror all the way around.
So, do you believe in ghosts, vampires, witches, werewolves, aliens? Now, I know when I speak of, I'll say this to clarify when I say witches, because we were talking with another one of our guests. She's like, well, obviously there's witches, but there's a difference between people who practice the craft and they're actually those who go beyond the craft that really are, you can say like past the point of just being a practitioner, where it goes a little farther, essentially. But again, you can talk on these other creatures, like I said, vampires, werewolves, aliens, because the funny thing is we get a mix. Some people are like, nah, those don't exist. But then there's people that really are like, well, I've seen this and that. So like,
Right.
do you believe in this type of stuff?
Well, I'm going to say this. You cannot have Dracula and werewolf without the gypsy curse.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
No, and I forgot, forgive me, but I think it was in 1941, Dracula.
Or 31. Yeah.
31.
Yeah.
When they were telling him, don't go in there, they were that was all
Yeah.
gypsy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
What is it, the Sagani,
The Zigani.
yeah,
Yes.
gypsies.
Look how she knows.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Gypsies that tried to
This
warn.
is what it is, and this is why even if you watch Werner Herzog's Nosferatu, the one from the 70s,
Okay.
there's a whole scene in that film where Jonathan Huddle, they had to rename him for
Okay.
copyright reasons instead of
Okay.
Jonathan Harker. They go to the inn,
Okay.
and the innkeeper says, "You're not going to that castle. That castle doesn't even exist. You're crazy." And he's like, "I don't believe you. I'll just go on my own." He's like,
Yeah.
"You talk to the gypsies over there, and they'll tell you there is a whole scene." Now they're not speaking in Vlaco Rom, they're speaking our Romanes.
Yeah.
Understood every word they said.
I gotta
And
hear,
there's
I gotta
basic.
see.
I'll send this to you.
Okay.
And they're basically telling him that don't go there,
Mm-hmm.
that it's a ghost castle, and that it's like a dream.
Right.
Essentially, don't even. It's not even. It's unbelievable. It's otherworldly. In other words, not to go.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there. I remember when I was younger, and I was watching. I'm like, wait, what? Because like when you'll listen to something, and your ear will catch like
Yeah,
a word
just
or
a
two.
word. Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you're out and you're walking through the stores or something.
Yeah,
and you'll
yeah,
catch
of
a word,
course.
and you're like, wait, where? Where are they? Where is this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
In the Walmart. They don't are here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
John, the other way. Go.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
That's it. I'm all Mel. They can't see me.
Right, yeah, right. I won't see nobody like that. Now you got your hair, your makeup on. I won't see
right.
nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You actually look good.
Mm-hmm.
But that part of the scene, we're so so much a part of all these stories, and so much a part of the Eastern European folklore that was
Absolutely.
then transferred to England, and these major, popular writers, authors of the time, then translated that into now what we know in Western culture is the media that we all consume.
Absolutely. That's why I say you can't think of the Wolfman without thinking of the gypsy, because he
can't.
went there.
Right.
Exactly.
He's seen him in the tent, in the carnival, whatever,
Yeah, in the festival, yeah. You're 100% right.
can't.
It's all there. We're all in the mix of it. And
We're
this
in
is-
it, yeah.
This is why to not believe it is silly, So with that being said, and you believe in all these particular things.
I do.
Do you have tell us a little bit of have you had any experiences outside? Well, obviously you gave us a good chunk of ghost stories, but do you have any more ghost stories that are worth mentioning?
That particularly happened to you.
Yes, to you.
Particularly happened to me. Yes. Okay. So, that being gypsy and stuff, I do feel that we are connected to in a spiritual realm because we can do it. And I think that it's a place where it's a place where nobody dared to enter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Nobody dared to enter, especially the Gaje.
Of course.
And the Roma enter it, like this place where they read cards. They do, not necessarily tarot cards, but you can read playing cards, teacups, all this other stuff. And in my teens with my friends and stuff, we used to do that with each other. We used to read each other's cards, and we didn't really think of anything. And plus, I kind of knew them and stuff, but I didn't know all of them.
Yeah.
Like, I knew, okay, we started hanging out 12, 13, 14. From there past beyond, well, I had no clue about them.
Mm-hmm.
So I started reading cards and stuff like that. I don't do it anymore. I won't. But when I started reading cards, I was able to see things that I haven't seen before. Okay, so I when I met them, that stuff that I told you like prior that I knew nothing about them, I was able to see. I was able to walk into their homes in my mind. It was crazy. And when you're in that state, you pick up other things. And I can't mention names on what it was, the real names.
Sure.
But I had a dream of this little girl. And it was dark, it was wet wherever she was. And I woke up. And no, not yet. I didn't wake up yet. But I was talking to her. And I was saying, please, tell me your name. Tell me your name. And she told me her name was... She told me her name.
Yeah.
Okay, which I don't want to, but... And she didn't tell me her age or whatever, but I'm not that good of a drawer. I don't draw well. Excuse me.
Understandable.
So when I woke up, I drew a picture of her, terrible picture, and then I started researching. Is this real? Is this real? Sure enough, we come across the picture. Now, me, her, and another friend, and we were just searching, because she loves spooky too.
Of course.
At that time, we
yeah.
all love the spooky, What happened was we were on her computer. Boom, the picture comes up. Because now the picture's here
Yeah.
that I drew. Here are the little girls' faces. We all ran and jumped on each other.
Oh.
And we ran back from her computer, and the chair flew and everything. That's how scared we got. And we were just looking like this. We were like, my gosh. Is
found
this
this girl.
real? We found the girl.
So what about this girl?
She measured in a basement. Because the girl, her neighbor, kidnapped her. 5 years old.
And where was this? This is something that happened in the neighborhood?
No, this was all... Wait, hold on. I'll tell you where it was. Hold on.
Folks, we're really getting some on-the-minute updates of something truly horrifying. Oh, wow.
I remember her name.
Stop.
She's just a little girl.
Chuddy, yeah.
God bless
And the
her.
bangs and everything, the split in the bangs, everything.
Wow, and you saw that.
Absolutely.
God
Yep.
bless her.
2006, kidnapped.
Wow.
May God take her into the light.
Absolutely. And then there was this other
Uh-oh.
person. And I reached out to the parents too. But then I got scared. I was laying, I never slept by myself because of this. Okay. Look this way real fast.
Guys,
I'm going to tell you
stop.
something. No, I just want, this is how my ears would sound in the night. Wake up!
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Did I scream too loud? I'm sorry.
No, you're
No,
fine.
you're good.
You're
And I
fine.
get scared. Till this day, I don't sleep in the dark. Justin makes big trouble with me. Because I can't.
She can't sleep in the
I
dark.
can't sleep in the dark because of the things that I've heard, and I just don't ever want to see. You know what I'm saying? Thank God, like, I was never like, you know, when I saw it, it was always either in my sleep or when I would daze
Same.
out.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I thank God for that. And
Witness the same thing. So
yeah, so I was sleeping. I should have said when it all started, when I was 7, but I'll
Yeah.
tell you that one later.
Sure.
I was sleeping and I was like 15 years old.
Yeah.
And I woke up and there was a little boy in my arm. And I looked and I went, and it evaporated in my arm while I was sleeping. So in that state of being half up and half asleep, I saw a woman coming at me, a young girl. She had plaid on, okay, jean shorts. Her face was all blood. All blood. And in my mind, I'm talking to her and I'm saying, you need to change how you look right now because I won't talk to you. I told her. Sure enough, the image just disappeared. I said, where can I find you? She gave me a number. Okay, I can't remember the number for the life of me, but she said she died in a car accident. Okay. I was like, okay. Got up that morning, did a research, checked out what it was, and I forgot what the area code was because her name, I can't say her name, but sure enough, I found it. Her picture, it was a girl in a blue plaid shirt. In the area code that the 70, the whatever number it was,
Yeah.
it was Cleveland.
Really?
Or Cleveland or Columbus. It was Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mind
Same
you, you
thing.
were in Chicago.
I was in Chicago.
Wow.
Eric gave me the, let me just see if I can.
See if you could find it. Oh, that's something. So in some ways, I'll say this. I know as you're searching, and I don't want to break from the story, but a tiny tangent. So in some ways, you feel that you have the capability of astral projection, or at least you did at the time. You
I
had.
thought I did. But I mean, I was here, but my mind was
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Got you.
Okay, I don't want to look at this, but yeah. My mind was somewhere else. So now here's the thing. I don't know if they were messing with me, my friends or whatever, but they would always say, hey, can you see if there was ghosts or moolah in my house?
Yeah.
So, all right, I would sit and everything I did, I asked, I know this sounds crazy, but I asked God
Yes.
to show me.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I always prayed that, God, if you want me to help these people in any way, please let me help these people. Because I wanted whatever knowledge that was coming to me come from him.
Bingo.
Right.
Okay. But I would sit there and I would just sit like this and I would talk and I'm not going to say their name, but I'm going to tell you what it was. Okay. So, I did it for a few people. And I would sit there and I would, meditate on, I would say, just give me the address. So they gave me the address. And then in my mind, I shifted like there. In my mind, I was still where I was.
Yeah.
And I don't know if my spirit or whatever shifted. I can't answer that.
Understandable.
But the headaches that came afterward
Oh yeah.
was terrible. And I was there and I was standing in front of their house. And I walked through the door. I was like, I'm going to go around to the back. And sure enough, I walked down, I seen the stairs. I said, okay, now when I look to my left, I see this under thing, but there's lockers. And she said, oh my gosh, there was lockers there, right? Because there used to be an old school or something, like it was like converted or something. It was an old school converted into a home, but they still had some of the stuff, the junk that was
Left
from
over.
the school that was left over. So I said, okay, I can't get in the door. There's something blocking the door. And she said, yeah, because we don't go get in that way. There's all desks and stuff. They don't even bother with that side of the building or whatever, that basement side. So they could get to the basement through another thing, but that other side was. So I'm like, all right, before I turned, I shut the door. And I'm looking at the locker. I said, I'm going to open up the locker. It was a red locker. Sure enough, I open up the locker. And you're going to think I'm crazy, but it was a nun. Because it was a Catholic school. I didn't know it was a Catholic school. Yeah. But it came at me like this. Like in my mind, I just saw, boom, something flash at me. See, when I tell these stories, people think I'm crazy.
I don't at all. I completely believe you.
I'm gonna cry tonight. That's just
I'm
it.
Sorry.
That's just it.
So I walked around the back. Stuff, and I seen everything. The mirror hanging on the wall. I could have told them what their bed sheets were. I said, now I see a flower print bed sheet. They were going out of their mind. Now I don't know if they were messing with me when they were going out of their mind, saying, "Oh my God, how did you know?"
Yeah.
But if they were, no, just kidding.
No, that's crazy. So, no, it's crazy that the simple fact that you're able to do that, because I've heard multiple people on occasion that have been able to do this. And it's insane. But were you able to find out about the other girl you mentioned?
No.
Was there more to that story or no?
No, that was it. I can't think of her last name. I know the first, but I can't remember.
It's all right. That's good.
If I do remember it, I will let you know.
Just let us know for sure. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
So, in that case, is there any other stories that you may be interested in telling, or have you? What else you got?
I got two other ones.
All right, we're here for them.
Okay, I realized that I could see things in Moulin when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and the first dream I had was my grandmother Veronica, who was kind of somewhat ill at the time, but she didn't know she was ill. She was playing with a little boy, and it had blonde hair. It had the little boy in my dream. This is, those old white walking shoes like that they would give to little kids. White socks, like he had like a christening outfit on. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he had like light hair and light blue eyes, like blonde hair, light blue eyes. And she's playing with him, and she gives him like the little Darth Vader sword and stuff, and they're playing outside. And then I wake up from there, and I'm like, I had a dream of this little boy. Nobody knew who the little boy was. And then after that, I had another dream, like not right after, but somewhat after. I was down a long hallway, and on the doors were OR. And I didn't know what that was, being 6 or 7 years old. And I'm running down the hallway, and I look up, and I couldn't even see in the glass. And I'm just looking at the glass. And sure enough, I see somebody getting operated on their head. Okay? I didn't know who it was, or what the dream meant. Later on, not like within a year later, my grandmother had brain surgery. Mm-hmm. Okay? And when after she died, we went downstairs because we were moving out of that house. There was a landlady. The landlady, she was like 80 years old. My grandmother used to take care of her, too, and help her, go to the store for her. And really, truly, help her. Like one time she fell, my Bubba went down there, picked her up and stuff. The little boy's picture was painted on a wall. It was her brother. 2 years old, he died of pneumonia. Yep.
In the house?
In the house, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So right then and there, I knew something. Like I was different. Yeah.
And did that put a little bit of more of this confusion in your identity, knowing that you're Rom?
Absolutely. So I felt that in being different, and yeah.
wanted to ask you because you recently went on a trip to Salem, Massachusetts.
I did.
And how was that? Because that's like a spooky kid's dream.
Okay, so obviously, movie Hocus Pocus, I was like, I had to go.
Of course.
Okay, so that town shuts down about 6 o'clock.
Really?
6 p.m. Everything is closed. It's like if they're hiding from something. I don't know if it was just the time that I went, because I went in September. I don't know if things are open later, maybe in October or other around, but you get the spooky, you feel it, like I like to say when the dead are around, it's a thick feeling in the air. And a lot of psychic and mediums would say the same thing. They describe it as thick, just can't breathe, stuff like that. We went on a ghost tour, and this was our last day in Salem, so we were like, all right, let's go on this ghost tour. We bought the tickets, and it was really educational as well, because you have to think a lot of houses were moved as well, so they weren't in their original spots. When you move things, you leave well enough alone, okay? I'm just saying.
True.
You could, it's very educational. It's very museum-ish. It's scary how it's like everybody closes the blinds and locks the doors as if something is going to awaken after 6 o'clock. That's like everybody goes home. That's it. There's nowhere to eat. There's nothing. We had to hurry up and order the Domino's because we were starving.
Yeah.
Sure.
But backtracking, we were on our last day. We went to this on a ghost tour, and we were just snapping pictures. And we go back to our hotel room, and we're just, because we didn't go to sleep because our plane was leaving at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So we had to get to the airport and stuff. So we're packed up. We're looking. I wiped my shoes off because we were looking in the cemetery. Justin was laughing from me. He tells that story to everybody.
Yeah.
She wiped her shoes off. Yeah, absolutely. And I got to say one thing about that. Okay.
Yes.
We were looking through, and sure enough, I caught it. Me and Justin took the same exact picture in the same exact spot. And on my camera, there was a ghost. And he had the cologne, like the hat.
Yeah.
And he had the big trench thing. And the woman was saying that he wanders the cemetery, and it was in the cemetery at night. This figure that I caught. And I sent my picture to their website. Yeah.
Wow. That's spooky.
I was pooping my pants. And it was already
sitting
3 o'clock in the morning, already 3 o'clock, witching hour, you know what I'm saying? We're 12 and 3.
Yep, you gotta watch yourself.
And Justin wanted to go back to take more pictures and leave me alone in the hotel room. I said, wait, no, you're not doing that. No, you're not going to leave me here, But he wanted to go back. Sure enough, we saw.
Wow.
So, and I wanted to say one thing about wiping your shoes off, and
Tell
I
us.
believe in it.
Tell us.
And I have to revert back to the Bible here. When Moses saw Jesus, God, the burning bush, they told him to remove his sandals. Does anybody know why?
Tell us why.
Because he was standing on sacred holy ground, and it would track, that holiness would track along everywhere else he walked if he got it on his shoe. Same thing, I believe, with unholiness. So when you go on unholy ground or with the dead, where the dead is present, I'm not saying that it's unholy there, because there's a lot of, people that are holy, that thing, but there are a lot of people that aren't. And your dirt on your shoes, you're tracking unholy ground all over. So wipe your shoes, take your shoes.
Noted.
Just saying. That's what I believe. That's my perspective.
Wow.
If
That's
you can,
like, when we all come home from a funeral, we wash our face
and
brush our teeth.
Yeah.
Change the clothes.
Change your
immediately.
clothes, take a shower. Yeah.
And
you can't leave
look
anything.
back.
Don't look back. Yeah, they say never look back.
And never leave anything in a funeral parlor.
Yeah.
There was one time I left my violin tuner. I think it was I forgot whose funeral it was. but I left it at the parlor off of Irving, by the Dairy Queen.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Monticello.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Meisner. I think.
Meisner, yeah.
Meisner's. I left it there, and I remember I was like so sick. I was saying to myself, well, I gotta get it, but then it dawned on me, I'm like, wait, you're not supposed to bring anything back home that was left there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what the matter?
Yeah. That's starving.
Seriously, I wanted
That
to
is
buy a
scary.
whole new tuner
That's
after that
scary.
point. Because I'll say this, one of the things, and I realize this too, is that our culture, whether we like it or not, a lot of the times, like the moments that we talk about is all on funerals. The last question that we have for you, and I'd say this is probably the most important one out of
Okay.
them all.
Uh-oh.
If you had to leave a message with our Roma, present and future, what would you like our Roma to know from you?
Read the Bible. Read the Bible and really embrace it, because when you read it, you'll see things that are different. And everybody says, don't read the Bible, you'll go dilini or this, that. No. It's because the Bible changes you in ways, and you really, truly get to see who God is. Because we have to understand that He graced us to know who He is. He didn't have to give us His name, and He did. His real name.
Mm-hmm.
God. Which people of every generation would say, oh, God. But God is a generic name. And He blessed us to know His real name. So that's my message. Learn His real name. Read the Bible. That's all I got.
Amen.
All right. Well, with that being said, Tressa, we really appreciate you spending time with us and telling us your amazing stories that I'm for sure whoever's listening to this probably is going to have a little difficulty sleeping tonight, but that's okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to Verda Darano, because without your support and fellowship in this case, we wouldn't be doing the things that we're doing. And we're so glad to have you. And we'll close this out as we close out every other one of our podcasts. Raquel, go for it.
Gia kor mangav tuke baktalotrom preko tunyaripe. Until then, I wish you safe travels through the darkness.
This broadcast of Verda Darano was brought to you by the talents of Pierce and Raquel Horvath, creators of Dead Scared Entertainment, with the help of Piroshka Raj. You've been listening to a production from Dead Scared Entertainment, where terror is our tradition. Good night.